All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome to our first of the year in that time zone community meeting for Project Velero. My name is Orlando Silef, and I'm the community lead for Velero. With that, I'm going to share the link into our community meeting notes into the chat. So please add yourself, and that will be super cool, and add your topics if you want to discuss something and if you want to bring something to everybody's attention. With that, let's refresh that one more time. I don't want to share because I don't have anything for today, but I can see Daniel added the topic. I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing your name. Shahaf also added, and Shubham added. So yeah, Daniel, do you want to take it away as you're first on the list with the discussion things?
Yeah, first I'd like to give a general status update regarding the releases. Here we are. We have tagged a patch release 1.12.3 RC1. It's already out, which include a few fixes for issues in data mover and CSI snapshot. Yeah, please take a look if that fixes your problem. And in parallel, we are working on 1.13 RC1. Generally, we're in good shape. It will be out this week, and I think we are pretty optimistic that we can GA before Chinese New Year. So that's a good news. As for the discussion topic, I have one. It's mainly around a flag to disable the informer cache. I think that's the only one we're pending for 1.13 RC1. Scott, so I didn't realize that it's already in 1.12.1. So I think it makes sense to I mean, your concern is valid regarding the breaking change, but I in my opinion, I think we should fix the inconsistency at least, because currently in CLI by default, the informer cache is disabled if user install Velero via CLI, but if user run Velero command to start Velero server, it's enabled by default. I think.
Yeah. I noticed that looking through the code. That's definitely something that we want to be consistent. Now, one thing that wasn't clear to me, because I haven't tested this out with the Velero install command, if you actually do the install, does it end up disabling it?
Yes, because because the reason is that in our pipeline we always install Velero via CLI, and so the bug was somehow missed, but it ended up causing some failure in the downstream product.
Okay.
No,
we definitely want that to be consistent. I guess then the question is what we're gonna, whether we're gonna enable it or disable it. And since it's inconsistent in 1.12.1, either way we have a change. So I guess the question is whether it's better to enable it by default or disable it. There was that one bug that was found where it actually wasn't working. That's been fixed, so that's not really a concern. So I think it's better to think about what most users are going to want at this point. And I don't know. It seems to me that from my experience, and the reason we added this was that in most cases, if you're restoring into a namespace where a lot of things already exist, and that's going to be especially the case if you happen to have a workflow where you're doing a backup from one cluster and then doing a restore to like a cluster you're keeping in sync. We actually have a user that does have a use case which is why we put this in place, where they were doing a lot of restores kind of regularly, where a lot of the objects already existed, and with this change, it cuts the time in half, basically. We still need to be able to disable it because there may be edge cases, especially with very large data sets, where the informer cache could impede performance. So overall, I would say, enabling it by default makes more sense to me, given that 1.12.1's enable disable behavior was inconsistent. So we really have to just decide what makes more sense. I don't know if Shubham or Daniel or anyone else has an opinion on this as well.
From our side, we were thinking. Please go ahead.
I think the switch is fine. If you want to keep it same or the change, but we should keep the name same so that there is no API
I
change.
think Daniel agree. He already said that. I think we all agree. I think there was some confusion initially. Is that this was originally written, you know, on main for 1.13, but that was one that got backported to 1.12.1.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
and the reason we
Daniel,
did that was we had an OIDP need for this feature in 1.3, which was based on 1.12.1.
and
but in
the
So
terms
your
error,
so your customer has been using Velero with the informer cache enabled already.
yes, and again, because OADP installs it, you know, I mean, we use the install package, but we don't use the install CLI. So again, we were, you know, using that enabled by default. So that inconsistency where that basically we had and I think this probably is a remnant, because when my very first iteration in this PR was actually disabling it by default, and then I ended up switching it around to enable it, and I think I missed that one you know, default value in the installer is why we have that inconsistency. And I know Sean's not on the call, but I know one of his big concerns was, you know, if at all possible, let's avoid changing APIs on users, and if there is a behavior change, you know, give them a notice. But if we're inconsistent in 1.12.1, then we really can't say that, because, you know, we had this weird situation where if you use the CLI, it was disabled, but if you didn't use the CLI, it was enabled. And so that's kind of, it's got to be consistent one way or the other. So I think either way, there's going to be a change. So you know, we can't avoid totally not changing an API because it was inconsistent. We have to make it consistent. So I don't have a strong opinion on, you know, my preference would be to enable it by default, but it's fine either way. It's not a breaking change for OADP because, you know, again, we're not using the CLI installer anyway there.
Yeah. The thinking process is like this. Because I first talked to Wes and Tiger and Shubham, like, shall we disable it by default? They say, okay. Then when we try to change it, there's a confusing situation, because if something is disabled by default, why there's a parameter to disable it again? So to enable it, user need to set the disable flag to false to enable a feature. That's really confusing. That's why we think we want to rename it from disable to enable without knowing that's already in 1.12.1.
And the reason I named it that way and what I originally wrote that was the intent that it was enabling it by default. So that way you could pass the flag -- disable, you know, to disable it. So that was the reason for the naming it that way. Was the original intent was to enable it by default.
I see. So so I think you don't have any problem if we enable it by default, right?
Oh, right, because again on OIDP we intend to enable it by default anyway, through our installer. So and we can do that whether or not the upstream, you know, 1.13 enables it by default. So I think the most important thing is let's keep the name the same, and then if it's okay to enable it by default, that's less confusing, because then basically if you don't pass any flag, you get it, and if you pass the disable flag, then you disable it.
Yeah, I would agree. Yeah, I'll let Wenkai know and let him, you know, update the PR and let you take.
And I think if we're doing that, the PR basically is just fixing the installer where we set that to true instead of false by default.
Right. Yeah, I'll update in the Slack channel, and tomorrow I think we will update the PR and.
Okay, that sounds great.
Yep. So again, your customer has been using with informer cache enabled for a while, so it's relatively stable, right?
Because Wes, do you have any? Do you remember what the situation was in terms of how they're? Yeah, because I know they're using it because I believe they were also noting that we have a different. It's not a performance issue, but we made a change in 1.10, I believe, to where we set the we have to do after we create a new item, we then do an update or a patch to deal with the managed fields. So the same customer noticed that you know, compared to 1.9, the newer versions, take longer to restore new items, even though we're now faster with the Informa cache for existing items. So that's why I know they are using it, because they noted that the performance improvement happened, but then that other situation unrelated to this is now slower. But that's not really a performance issue in the sense of, I mean, we're doing more stuff now. We had to do that separate update to get those fields, the managed field set. And one consequence of that is it's a little bit slower. But Wes, have you heard of anyone having any issues with this functionality? I'm pretty sure we haven't seen any issue. The bug that you found on 113 was not released in 112, so that's not one that's affected anyone in production.
Right. I know it's gone through quality via ACE. Well, and I'm gonna check the details on that now, but I heard it went through ACM QE and RQE, but I can double check.
But yeah, I mean, the OADP 1.3 release includes this because it includes 112.1. So, as far as I know, we have not seen any bugs come in relating to this functionality.
Okay.
I can't say how many people are using it, in what volume, but
that's the hard part.
but yeah, I think in 1.13.0, it's okay to enable it by default. Yeah, we should fix the inconsistency. Yeah.
Okay.
Daniel, do you have anything else to add to this one?
No, that's all from me. Yeah.
Right. Next one we have on the list is Shahaf. I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing your name again.
It's okay. It's Shahaf, but it's all right. So I want to talk about the PR that I raised a long time ago, and we have long thread there. I want just to convince you that it's a real bug, not critical one. It's edge case, but still a bug. Whenever you run a backup using file system and exclude PVC resource, the PVC resource itself is being skipped, but the pod volume backup resource is being triggered and created and moving data. Backup is being marked as completed, and then when you try to restore it, it's failing because it's not finding any PVC. So it's for customer side, it's confusing. You excluded PVC in backup and get error in restore that PVC being excluded. So it's confusing, and this behavior I think is wrong. My PR is just checking if you excluded PVC and using file system backup. So it's also preventing the pod volume backup to being created in the first place, and by that preventing the in restore to be fed. In either way, before this PR and afterwards, pod will be pending because it will wait for a PVC that will never be there. But it's not. It may not be a real scenario, but it's still some edge cases that we found as QE, and we think it's a bug, and I also raised the fix. And
so let me clarify. You're saying that if user said they exclude PVC with FS backup, the restore will fail anyway. Is that the case, or is there any?
No.
Yes. So could you?
Right now, if you exclude run backup and exclude PVC, but using file system, it will create the pod volume backup either way, and it's wrong.
Yeah.
It shouldn't create the pod volume backup. It shouldn't, because you excluded PVC, so it doesn't need to move data.
I understand, but yeah. Please go ahead.
I was going to say, I think this change that he made here in this PR makes it consistent with other backup methods, because if I'm doing CSI backup, for example, and I exclude PVCs, then we don't create the CSI snapshots. When I restore, that pod is going to be pending because its PVC is not there, but the restore can be, from Valero's point of view, the restore is successful. The pod itself, the application is not running because it's missing, components. But it's kind of weird right now because a file system backup behavior is different than because with CSI, if you exclude PVCs, you don't snapshot, and the restore will not fail. Now it won't. Any restore that excludes resources that your applications need is not going to produce a useful application. But that's not Velero's problem. That's the users. Maybe they have some other method they want to restore PVCs with, for example. I don't know. But file system backup is weird right now because you get this error that's not really the user's fault, and you also spend all this time copying a volume that Rustic or Copia backup is never going to be used because it will never succeed. So the PR from when I remember reviewing it back in December basically checks, and if you're excluding all PVCs, then we don't create the pod volume backup, and that makes the file system backup use case consistent with behavior what we see with CSI and Data Mover.
Yeah, I think the inconsistency is an issue. But in our internal discussion, we were thinking because Velero has been working like this for years, so we want to be cautious, and there may be a reason for the current behavior, which is that if PVC is mounted to a pod, it should always be backup, like Xun mentioned in the PR. But I think the consistency is more important. I'll discuss it in our internal meeting, and after the branch is cut, hopefully the scenario will make it consistent. Probably
I don't see this as a blocker for 113, so that's fine to wait till the branch is cut. I don't see any reason to shove it in there, but I think we definitely want to consider it. I think as I have said, we think it's a real bug. It's not a blocker. It's not a high priority one, but we have it fixed. We might as well get it in there, for the next release. I mean, next release meaning not 1.13.
Mm-hmm. Or I think we can move to the next topic.
Is that everything? I was just waiting. Okay. And last one on the list, we have Shubham.
Hey, hi.
Sure, update or go ahead.
Yeah, so I'm working on updating the design for volume policies. We had discussed a bit earlier before the break on updating it to accept more generalized options. So I'm mostly done with the FS backup flow and working on snapshots. I will update the design and probably get some reviews later.
Yeah, so I think that will require heavy refactor in the backup flow, right?
Yeah, for snapshots, I'm suspecting Daniel. We might need to refactor. Yeah. So
I
think we'll have to do some rigorous reviews. So I'll get it started beforehand.
I really appreciate the effort. I know this is complicated, and if you need any help, please let us know. I think that one will be an important improvement for 1.14.
Yeah, definitely.
Thank you.
That's it on it.
Thank you. Do we have anything else for today? Anyone wants to add something like a last minute?
Hi, just a quick note from me, Raghu from Cloudcasa. So we did test the new sparse file restore option for Copia, and it seems to be working as expected. We also updated the GitHub issue.
Which issue are you talking about? Sorry.
This is the new option added if you want to enable sparse option for restore, right? When you're doing restore from Copia, I think it's supported for both. But in the restore CR, you can set the uploader flags to. I think we introduced this new flag, write sparse files, right? You can set that to true, and then the file will be created as a sparse file. I mean, Copia has this option. For sparse restore. So we tested it. And
Thank you.
Yep.
Yeah, I think David commented on the PR, right, or issue.
Right. Yeah, David tested that. That is true.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah.
All right. Anything else? Anyone? Nope. All right. As Tiger is chatting, Happy New Year once again, everyone. Wish you all the best in 2024. And talk to you in 2 weeks' time. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.